The reading for today is from Night Cycles, Poetry for a Dark Night of the Soul by Beth Morey. Do you dare to step into the vulnerable black, stripped to the soul with human blindness? When the full and weeping moon steps from the shade of tumult of mountains? When in the fragrant dim day's tree stump transforms into some netherworldly other? When time's skin is thin and you are bared, when there is nothing between you and the wildest one, whose name is your own?
When I was young, I wanted every day to be like Christmas. Now that I'm old, I want every day to be like Christmas. Your song explains or points to or describes what Christmas or the season often feels like or how it gets to me, because it's often something very small. And I try not to let it in. I'm not, Christmas comes in our culture like a swoop of commerce and presents around July. Time to shop, time to save, get out the credit cards, make room. It's coming. But I try to hold it off as long as possible. As long as possible. I don't want to let it in. I don't want to think about it. My daughter, who is, how old is she? 8? 8? You? 8, 9? She would listen to Christmas music every day of the year. Every day, and she does. But I'm like, I don't want to hear it! She's up there in July, jingle bells. I'm like, shut up! I don't say that. I just say, please, shut it up. But I hold it off until around Thanksgiving, and then we're there with family and friends at the meal, and all of a sudden something little happens that weekend, like the weekend of deathly commerce. Something happens where I'll see a child smile, or I'll hear the echo of a choir singing in a movie or in someone's car, and all of a sudden my heart, just like the Grinch, expands 3 sizes, and I'm like, it's here! It's Christmas! And then for the next 30 days, I just cry and cry and cry. I can't help it. But it's interesting this time of year, so much joy, so many lights, presents, family, gifts, not just Christmas, but the Festival of Lights, Kwanzaa. It's a beautiful time of year. However, everything about this season wraps itself around the inevitable darkness of solstice. Everything about it. Everything about it points to the one thing that all human beings share. We share a lot. I look at you and I see Nika, and I see my friends. I see my friends, Kathy. My mom's name is Kathy. John. And we share so much in common. As human beings, we're all human beings, so we share so much. But inevitably, the one thing that all human beings share that binds us together like no other is darkness. If you live long enough, you will inevitably experience levels of darkness that I can't even describe here. I wish I could, but I don't have to. You know what I'm talking about. Be something simple like the loss of an idea you worship your entire life, and this idea begins to shift as reality sets in, and that leaves you in an inevitable darkness. It could be the loss of a job. It could be the loss of health. It could be the loss of a loved one. It could be any kind of shift you go through as a human being that inevitably leads to a period in your life where there's not much light. And it's part of being human. It's part of the human experience, this experience of utter darkness. It binds us together. When someone shares with me something they've been going through recently, and it has this darkness to it, I feel like I can just reach out and touch it. I feel like yes, that is what it means to be human. And I just want to reach into that place with them and say, we all go through this. Now we go through light too. I don't want to just sit and darken you, which this is all about. But we go through light too. In fact, light and darkness need one another. Light and darkness are two sides of the same reality, and we experience both in degrees every day of our lives. We are surrounded by light. Look around you. Go ahead, look. What do you see? Light. We are surrounded by light. We are surrounded by family and friends and commerce and jobs. We are surrounded by beliefs and ideas and communities and trees and presents and all this beautiful things that make up the human experience. And they are all lights. And one thing in common, they are the objects we place our hope within. That's what I mean by lights. That's what we're talking about today, the difference between light and darkness and their relationship. When I say light, I mean the objects of hope. What do you put your hope in? Is it family? They will be here tomorrow. I call my mother too much. That's what she says. I call her too much. I call her 4 or 5 times a week. Because anytime something positive or negative happens in my life, I want to lean on her, or I want her to celebrate it with me. It's like it's not a joy unless she says it's a joy. It's not a sorrow unless she validates my sorrow. I need her to tell me it's okay, or I need her to tell me that, yay, you did good. So she is an object of hope in my life. I pray that she will be here tomorrow as she was today. My wife, my children, objects of hope. I lean on my wife. Oh, poor thing. I lean on her. She holds me up. And I pray and I hope that she will be here tomorrow. I have hope in our relationship that it will sustain. I place hope in her. I kind of have a job. Kind of, sort of. And I have hope that tomorrow someone will pay me to do this again. I have hope that I will have the talent to do it again. One day I feel like Dusty's going to ask me to do a talk. She's going to give me the topic, and I'm going to draw a blank. I'm like, I've run out of ideas. Nika, you say no, but it could happen. I could wake up tomorrow and say, okay, this week you're going to talk about this, and I'll be like, I don't know. It's just God. I could get up there and say God, but I have hope. I honestly have hope in my talent as a minister. I have hope in my ideas. This thing's not going anywhere. This mind of mine, this steel trap, is going to be with me tomorrow. I have hope that our economy will sustain at least long enough for me to pay a few bills. I have hope. See, this is what I'm talking about. By light, we are surrounded by objects of hope, objects that we put our hope within. And the reason these lights are so important, because let me tell you something about tomorrow. It's a mystery. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. It is a complete and utter mystery. Not just tomorrow, Jim Rigsby. No, this next moment. This next moment that is overwhelming and overcoming this moment to take it in and become this complete and utter mystery. So we need objects to put our hope within to say, yes, tomorrow it will be as good, if not better, than today. Objects of hope. It's like a night sky. Lights everywhere. Family, friends, body, health, jobs, hope. But what happens? What happens when one of those lights dim? What happens when one of those lights go out? You fall apart. I'm going to tell you a story Last week I was really sick, which is weird because the last time I spoke here, I talked about being really sick the last week. John, I'm not sick all the time. I'm okay. You don't have to call me later. Are you okay? Are you all right? No. But last week, Thursday night, I was fine. I was fine. Hope, body, health. 39 years old. Of health. And then I said, I'm going to lay down for a minute. Honey, I'm going to go upstairs and lay down. And I went upstairs and I laid down for 3 days. For 3 days. I couldn't get out of bed. If I had to use the bathroom, the bed's here, the bathroom's like 2 feet away. And I hobbled. For 3 days, I had some kind of wicked, crazy virus that hit me. Now, when that happens, the light of hope I have thing. And this thing sustaining me tomorrow could dim. When I'm really sick, I get these kind of existential thoughts about the frailty of the human condition, about the frailty of this body. Like, wow, this thing may not be as perfect as I think it is. This thing may be susceptible to certain illnesses. Heck, this thing may be susceptible to age. Now, that's just a virus. And I had my wife to lean on, and I had my belief that, yes, I will overcome this. But what if that virus were something different? What if it was terminal? What if I got the phone call that says, no, we need you to come in and we need to talk to you about the rest of your life, which is not going to be as long as you think it's going to be. The hope I have in my body sustaining me through life, the hope I have in this mind. My grandfather-in-law has dementia, and as I watch his mind deteriorate, I'm thinking, I can't do that. I can't lose my faculties. I can't lose this precious thing I lean on called my intellect. But what if that hit? I would have to suffer the inevitable loss of that light of hope that I cling to so dearly that this body's going to be here tomorrow. And we experience these darkenings all the time. It could be the loss of a job. It could be the loss of a loved one. It could be the loss of a form of light you place your hope within. And this time of year, solstice, is asking us to participate in that. We have the Festival of Light. We have Kwanzaa, we have Christmas, we have all these holidays, but they all wrap themselves around this one seasonal tradition of darkness. In this tradition where the folks, our ancestors, our religious leaders, our spiritual leaders, our gurus are all asking us to sit in the darkness. And they want you to ask the question we don't like to ask. This is not a popular question in our culture. The question is, what will you do when the lights go out? Do you know why seasons are so important? Do you? Oh, no. That's where I was yesterday. Oh, no. Oh, no. What? That's what it teaches us. We're not there yet. So slow down. The reason seasons are so important is because we are a part of them. We are human beings, but we are a part of this grand thing called creation. And as our beautiful planet shifts and goes through seasons, it reminds us that we shift and go through seasons. Every single spiritual ritual we participate in has to do with the seasons. Moments of rebirth, moments of plenty, moments of dying, and yes, moments of death. All around us, the seasons are trying to tell you this is what life is all about. There will always be birth. There will always be moments of summer and abundance. There will always be dying and harvest and reaping, and yes, there will be darkness. And not just in 1 year, you are living the seasons of your life. You have moments of birth. You have moments of abundance. Some say I'm in the fall of my life. getting to that point where I'm beginning to reap all that I've learned, and I'm beginning to harvest all that I've learned so I can give it away. We go through seasons. Every day, every morning is spring, every afternoon is summer, every evening is fall, and yes, every night is winter. So the seasons are trying to tell you something. They're trying to teach you about your life. They're trying to ask you to participate in this beautiful thing called season with consciousness and with gratitude. The winter solstice throughout history has been a time where people gather together and go into the darkness. The solstice is the shortest day of the year, leading to the longest night. The shortest day, the shortest amount of light, leading to the depths of utter darkness. And what our ancestors would do is they would gather together, burn candles, sing, be together in family, and wait and hope and pray that the light comes back, not really knowing if it's going to. And that's the kicker. That's the core of solstice. That's the core of darkness. Going in, not really knowing for sure what is going to happen. The beautiful thing about this time of year, it's asking you to participate in that. The sky, that sky of lights I talked about, the sky of hope, twinkling in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out. All the lights that we place our hope within will eventually fade. And I realize how hard that is to hear. I realize how hard that is to grasp. And I realize how hard that is to even put a pinky toe into that reality. But every light you place your hope within will eventually fade and go out. Because everything is temporal. My body, my relationships, the ones I love, my ideas, my glorious ideas, this culture we live in, commerce, the United States, the world order, whatever you want to call it, all of these things are shifting and changing, glowing bright, and yes, inevitably going out. And solstice wants to ask you to ask yourself, what will I do in the darkness? What will I do when the lights go out? You only have two choices. Now, I could go on, give you more examples, bring you a little further down than you already are. I could give you a lot of more examples. Here's an example of going out, the loss of a child. Here's an example of the loss of a loved one. Here's an example of the loss of a job. Here's an example of the destruction of a religious ideology. Many of you have gone through that. You grow up believing one thing, and all of a sudden life says, nope, that's not what God is. Sorry. But I could give you examples, but you don't need examples because you've all been there. You all know what it's like when the light goes out. Two choices. Only two things you can do when you are slapped in the face. I just want to do it. Just want to do it. When you're slapped in the face with darkness. One, you can freeze up. And many of us do that. That's kind of an inevitable reaction. I'm not going in there. I'm not going in there. I'm not going into the darkness. I'm not. I can't go back. Thursday night when that sickness overwhelmed me, I can't turn around and go, well, it's Wednesday again. Yay. No, it's Thursday. It's Thursday. So that first choice you have is to stand still and to not move and to seize up. You've probably met people or been through this yourself, where something important to you, you lose an object of hope, a light goes out, and you don't want to move. You don't want to get out of bed. You don't want to do anything. You just want to stop. I want everything to stop. And that's okay. Sometimes we need to do that. Sometimes we need to say, I'm not ready. I'm not ready for that next step. But eventually, you will have to do the second thing you can do. Eventually, it'll have to happen. And that is, you let go and move into the darkness. That space that you don't want to be in, space that doesn't have this person you loved anymore, the space that doesn't have that job or that idea anymore, this space of darkness. Eventually, life is asking you to move into it. And it's scary. But solstice is telling us you're not alone. We can move into it together. We can let go of all that we have hope within, and we can practice moving into the darkness. That's the beautiful thing about ritual. It's a practicing as if. Confucius said, every ritual is acting as if. I speak to the ancestors as if they are present and guiding me, and that makes it true. So this ritual of solstice is saying, no, let's practice letting go of every light and step into the darkness, because eventually we're going to have to do this. So let's practice doing it together. And this is what happens. I mean, I'm dictating it to you like you don't know, but I'm just putting words to what you're thinking, I'm sure. This is what happens. When you move into the darkness, the first thing that happens is absolute dread. Have you noticed I'm not sugarcoating this? I'm really good at sugarcoating things, but I'm not sugarcoating this. The first thing that happens when you move into the darkness is dread. My life is over. I almost have to laugh because it's that serious. Like, my life is, who am I without this person? Who am I without this child? Who am I without this husband, this wife? Who am I without this idea that defined me, my life? Who am I without this job? I don't know if I have a job. Can't really say. I am this minister guy. What if Dusty called tomorrow and said, nope, that talk you did was a little dark. I think we're going to need a break from you for a while. That's fine. That's fine. But the first thing you feel in the darkness is absolute and utter dread. The second thing you feel is confusion. You know why? In the darkness, which way is which? You don't know, because those lights have been there to guide you. I know what I'm doing tomorrow because I have my wife and my family. I will go where they lead me. I will go where my job takes me. I'll go where this idea takes me. When those lights go out, there's dread, and then there's absolute and utter confusion. But you got to let it settle in. You got to let it sink in. It's moving you somewhere. Dread, confusion, and then stop. And then nothing. The third thing you feel in the darkness is absolutely nothing. And at first it comes as such a relief. Where did the dread go? Where did the confusion go? Why don't I feel anything anymore? And out of that nothingness, there'll be a small space. And we're talking like 2 a.m. solstice. We're talking like 2 a.m. Light this way is gone. Don't know if light this way is coming. But what's here in this small space? Can't define it. Can't put my hands on it. Can't see it. Is it peace? Is it peace? I don't know, because I can't describe it. But you settle into that. You settle into that darkness. You settle into that new state of being. And then there's gratitude. And there's gratitude for everything you've lost. I'm glad that light shone for a while. I'm glad that I had hope in that, because it's made me who I am. And as soon as gratitude hits, right there on the horizon, first, just a peak of light. Just a peak. And you'll strain to see it. You'll strain to see it because you've been in darkness for so long. You'll strain to see it, but your focus is keen at this point, because you've let go of everything else. Your focus will be perfect. And the light gets brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter. What is that the light of? What is that the promise of? After the darkest night of the year, there comes a new promise. Life will go on. After the darkness of what we've experienced when we've lost all hope, there will be a promise that your life will go on. After losing everything, there's the one light of hope that life continues. The promise that this thing will keep going. That light may change into a new job. I don't know, that light may change into a new friendship. That light may change into a new relationship. That light may change into 1,000 million billion, I go with numbers, stars in your new sky. I don't know what that light will become, but it's only there because you've allowed yourself to move into the darkness. When you seize up, you can't go through. When you seize up, you go through. But once you invite that, and that's what Solstice is asking, once you say, I'm going to move into the darkness and practice letting go of all light, and I'm going to see what's on the other side of this. Now, the interesting thing is, you've probably noticed this is a cycle. Like, yes, my experience tells me there will always be light on the other side. And if I go into the darkness, yes, my horizon will fill up with lights again. But isn't that just a cycle? Isn't that just an inevitable reoccurrence of hope gained and hope lost, and hope gained and hope lost, and hope gained? And am I supposed to participate in that as humans? Well, on the one side, yes, you are. It's better to have loved and to have lost, that's what they say, than to have not loved at all. So that's the inevitable humanity of the question, or the humanity of the answer, that yes, life is love and loss, and for everything you lose, you will gain, and for everything you gain, you will lose. And eventually every star will go out, but it will be replenished again and again and again and again. That's the human answer. What's over here? Over here is the spiritual answer. Over here is what the mystics teach us. The mystics say, yes, life is about light. And yes, life is about darkness. But there's something that never changes. There's one thing that you can put your hope within, and only one thing. And it's been called so many different names, and the names don't matter, but they matter. It's been prayed to in so many different ways, and the ways we pray to it matters, but it doesn't matter. We call it God, Tao, Source, Spirit, Elohim, Jehovah. We call it so many different things, but it is that which sustains all life and will never fade. At the depths of the darkness, we found a little bit of peace. That is a pinky toe in the river of life. That is the quiet voice of God that only speaks to us in absolute silence. And that is the thing that says, yes, the lights will come back. I promise you. So what do? Well, we love the ones we love. We have ideas. We consider tomorrow. We hope that, yes, my wife will not leave me. Yes, my children will be around for a while. Yes, this body will sustain me. We believe these things. But we remember that we can only place our true hope in the God that sustains all things. We can only place our true hope in that which gives rise to life. That is the only thing we can truly lean on. Because when you're standing in place, lights come, lights go, lights come, lights go, and you have nothing but gratitude for the process. Yes, you'll mourn. You'll always mourn the loss of a light. Always. That's the humanness of it. But standing in that foundation of creation, Alpha, Omega, beginning, end, incarnation, everything, standing in that place, you can rejoice in gratitude because you know that every time a light goes, a light comes. And every time a light comes, a light goes. And that is the way of life. Solstice is asking us to go into the darkness. But it's asking us to go together. Because we're all human beings and we all share this beautiful experience of being alive. So Solstice is saying, what happens when the lights go out? Will you move into it? Will you move into it and wait for the inevitable rising of the sun? And will you find your way to that peace in the middle? We go together, but it's a door that only you can open. It's a door that only you can move through. It's a door that only you can transcend. No one can find that peace for you. You know what it's like in the depths of despair. No one can cheer you up. Here, let me give you the answer. There is no answer. There's just presence. There is no answer. There's just peace. There is no answer. There's just that place that rises within us all where we can just look at the world in gratitude. 1 week from today is the winter solstice. It's the shortest day of the year. At the end of that day, the lights will go out. I would like for you to sit in that darkness. 10 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, 6 hours, however long you can. Just sit there. Just sit there and ask yourself, what would I do if the lights went out? Is there still hope in my life that transcends all of this? Is there a hope and a peace that I can bring into every relationship? Is there a hope and a peace that I can bring even in the darkness? Because if you find that, nothing but gratitude. So that is what I want to do next week on solstice. I want you to pray with me for a moment. Thank you for the strength to give this talk, to be an incarnation of these words. These things are not easy to talk about. These things are not easy to embrace, but I have faith. I have faith that in the darkness there is peace, because I know that in the darkness there is you. And in the light. And in everything in between, every twinkling star, every space of darkness between, I know that you are waiting for me, as me, to speak through me, to listen to others, to add so much to this life. Every person in this room is a gift. Every person in this room is somebody's star. Every person in this room is someone's light. Help us to shine while we can. We know we're only here to shine momentarily, but help us to shine while we can. When the lights go out, we will not be troubled. When the lights go out, we will mourn, we will be sad, but we won't be troubled, because we know there's something waiting for us. We know it's part of the process. It's part of being alive. We love with abandon. We love with vulnerability. We love as you love, just as a gift. Thank you for this voice. Thank you for these ears. And I have hope that each of us have found something today in the darkness. And so it is. Amen. And thank you. I want to say thank you so much for listening. I know this is not the easiest topic, but it's one of those topics that stays with us forever. And in this, we can find peace. Thank you.